Tariq St. Patrick walks a line between survival and destruction, a path laid by his father, James Ghost St. Patrick. Ghost wasn't just a criminal, he was a master of deception, betrayal, and control. Every move he made had consequences that reached far beyond his own life. And now, Tariq feels the weight of that legacy pressing down on him. He's not just fighting enemies outside. He's fighting the part of himself that was trained to think like Ghost. Every decision carries a shadow of his father's mistakes. The world sees Tariq as a clever young man, someone who can maneuver through danger and come out on top. But beneath that confidence is a fear that he is destined to repeat the very betrayals that defined his father's life. Ghost taught him loyalty, yes, but he also taught him survival. Sometimes survival meant choosing yourself over those closest to you. That lesson sits heavy in Tariq's mind, whispering at every turn, reminding him that the world rewards cunning and punishes sentiment. Every encounter with Tommy Egan feels like a test. Tommy represents the old code, the rules that Ghost once swore by. Loyalty was everything to Tommy, and betrayal was not just a crime, it was a personal attack. Tariq knows this. He knows that if he missteps, Tommy won't hesitate to strike. But Tariq also knows that Ghost himself wasn't afraid to bend the rules, to manipulate, to betray if it meant protecting his empire. Tariq has inherited that cunning, but he hasn't yet mastered the emotional toll it takes. Every choice he makes has consequences, and every consequence shapes who he is becoming. He can see it in himself, the careful calculations, the hesitation before speaking, the secrets he keeps even from those closest to him. These are the marks of a man learning to wield power, but also the warning signs of someone who might betray even those he claims to care about. The legacy of Ghost is more than just a shadow. It is a blueprint for both survival and destruction. Tariq remembers the lessons from his father's rise and fall. Ghost had enemies in every corner, friends who turned into foes, and allies who could not be trusted. And yet, he survived long enough to shape a criminal empire that even his enemies respected. Tariq studies this carefully, learning the patterns, the strategies, the subtle art of knowing when to fight and when to hide. But the shadow of Ghost is not a guide, it is a mirror. It reflects what Tariq could become if he lets ambition, fear, or survival instincts dictate his actions. In these moments, Tariq feels the heavy weight of expectation, not just from the world, but from himself. Can he honor his father's legacy without losing himself in the process? Can he take the intelligence, the ruthlessness, the charm that Ghost possessed and turn it into something that doesn't destroy everyone he loves? And this is where the tension rises. Tariq knows the stakes. He knows that the world he inherited is not forgiving. Every ally is a potential enemy, and every secret carries the risk of exposure. Ghost's life ended with betrayal at the center, and Tariq has seen firsthand how easily trust can shatter. He watches Tommy, sees the loyalty, the unyielding sense of honor, and wonders how long it can survive against the world they live in. Tariq is not yet Tommy's enemy, but he is standing at the edge of a choice that could either preserve the bond or shatter it forever. The shadow of Ghost whispers constantly, reminding him that in this world, power is the only thing that truly matters, and loyalty is often just a luxury. Tariq's next move will define not just his life, but the lives of everyone around him. The question hangs in the air, heavy and unspoken. Will Tariq rise above the shadow, or will he fall into the same traps that claimed his father? Tommy Egan is a man who has survived in a world full of lies because he follows a simple, brutal rule: loyalty above all else. Unlike Tariq, who has learned the art of strategy and deception from his father, Tommy doesn't play games with people he trusts. In his world, betrayal is not just wrong, it is dangerous. And it comes with consequences that are immediate and unforgiving. He has seen friends turn into enemies, lovers become liabilities, and entire alliances collapse because someone thought they could outsmart him. Tommy's code is clear: keep your word, protect your own. and never underestimate the people around you. This is why Tommy respects Tariq, even if he doesn't fully trust him. He sees the potential in a young man, recognizes the blood of Ghost in his veins, but he also knows that power can corrupt quickly. Loyalty to Tommy is not optional, it is survival. Unlike many in the criminal world, Tommy operates with transparency within his own code. He doesn't hide who he is or what he expects from those around him. This honesty has earned him respect from allies and fear from enemies. He has watched Ghost rise and fall and has understood the cost of bending principles to chase power. Where Ghost used manipulation and strategy to survive, Tommy relies on raw instincts and a rigid sense of right and wrong. It is why he has survived when so many others have fallen. And yet, Tommy is not blind to the threats posed by Tariq. He knows the young man is clever, ambitious, and unafraid to make choices that could destabilize everything Tommy has built. But Tommy also understands that loyalty is a two-way street, and he is willing to give Tariq a chance if Tariq proves he is worthy. Tommy's bond with Ghost was complicated. Ghost was cunning, ambitious, and often cold, but there was mutual respect between them. Tommy understood the game Ghost played, and even when he disagreed, he knew the stakes were higher than personal feelings. Tariq, by blood, is Ghost's son, and that connection brings both opportunity and danger. Tommy sees Tariq as a reflection of Ghost's brilliance, but also as a reminder of the betrayals that ultimately destroyed his friend. This duality puts Tommy in a difficult position. He wants to guide Tariq, protect him from making fatal mistakes. But he also knows that in the world they live in, caution alone is not enough. Actions define a person, not intentions. Every choice Tariq makes, every secret he keeps, every alliance he tests pushes the boundaries of what Tommy can tolerate. Despite Tommy's toughness, there is an emotional core that defines his decisions. He does not tolerate betrayal lightly because he knows how much pain it causes, and he has witnessed it destroy the people he cared about most. When it comes to Tariq, Tommy senses both promise and peril. He sees a young man shaped by the shadow of Ghost, someone who has learned lessons in deception that could easily turn against him. Yet, he also recognizes Tariq's struggle, the desire to honor his father's legacy while avoiding the trap, as that ensnared him. This makes Tommy cautious, but not cruel. He observes, calculates, and waits. He lets Tariq reveal who he truly is through actions rather than words. In Tommy's world, words are cheap, loyalty is priceless, and betrayal is the ultimate crime. The tension between Tommy and Tariq is palpable because it is built on both opportunity and risk. Tariq could be a valuable ally, someone who can carry Ghost's legacy forward with strategy and ambition. But Tariq could also be a threat, a young man who prioritizes survival over loyalty, who sees people as tools to advance his own position. Tommy knows that trusting the wrong person, even someone who shares Ghost's blood, can have devastating consequences. Every interaction, every decision is a test. And in the criminal world, these tests are not hypothetical. They are life and death. Tommy's unwavering code makes him predictable in some ways, but it also makes him deadly. For Tariq, understanding Tommy's rules is as important as mastering his own. The bond between them hangs on a knife's edge, and the slightest misstep could tip it into betrayal and violence. Tariq St. Patrick lives in two worlds, and walking between them is a skill he has mastered out of necessity. On one side, he is the obedient son, the student trying to navigate school, family expectations, and society's judgment. On the other side, he is a criminal in the making, inheriting the instincts, cunning, and ruthlessness of a man he barely knew in life, his father. Ghost. Balancing these two realities is exhausting, and every choice carries risk. One wrong move could expose him, not just to law enforcement, but to people like Tommy, who operates on a strict moral code. Tariq has learned that deception is not just a tool. It is survival. He manipulates, calculates, and conceals, but unlike Ghost, He is haunted by the consequences of crossing the line. Each secret he keeps is a weight pressing on him, a reminder that power comes with a price. In the criminal world, Tariq has already demonstrated his ability to think multiple steps ahead. He anticipates threats, reads people, and positions himself strategically to gain advantage. But this intelligence is double-edged. It allows him to survive, but it also isolates him. Those around him see pieces of Tariq, but never the whole. His closest allies, friends, and even family only catch glimpses of his true nature. The duality forces him to question his own morality. When is a lie justified? When is betrayal necessary? Tariq has already crossed lines that others would never consider, justifying his actions as smart decisions in a world where survival often depends on outhanging everyone else. This internal conflict shapes him, molds him into someone who is constantly calculating, constantly weighing risk versus reward, and constantly aware that any slip could be fatal. Tariq's double life also affects how he interacts with Tommy. He knows that Tommy respects loyalty above all else, and that makes every decision trickier. Tariq can't simply play the same games he played when Ghost was alive. Even as Tariq navigates these two worlds, he is not immune to temptation. The allure of power, money, and control is constant, and each decision tests his loyalty. He has already seen how easily trust can be exploited, and how fleeting alliances are in the criminal world. Tariq's awareness of this reality pushes him to manipulate circumstances to his favor, sometimes bending ethical lines he swore he wouldn't cross. The danger is that each calculated step increases the risk of alienating those he needs most. Every small act of self-preservation can plant the seeds of betrayal. And in the world of power legacy, seeds grow fast. Tariq must constantly balance ambition with caution, intellect with morality, and strategy with emotion, all while under the scrutiny of someone like Tommy, who can detect lies faster than Tariq can invent them. What makes Tariq's double life uniquely perilous is that he is still learning who he really is. He is caught between being Ghost's son, inheriting a legacy of cunning and ruthlessness, and being his own man, trying to navigate a world that demands both survival and morality. Each secret he keeps, every manipulation he executes, slowly shapes him, blurring the line between who he was and who he is becoming. This constant balancing act defines Tariq's life, a man walking on a knife's edge, aware that at any moment, one mistake could destroy not just his carefully constructed identity, but everything and everyone he has tried to protect. In this precarious position, the ultimate question emerges not just for the world around him, but for himself. Can Tariq maintain his humanity while living in a world built on lies, power, and betrayal? Or is the double life he has mastered only the first step toward a destiny that will force him to betray those he cares about most? The world Tariq St. Patrick navigates is one where every alliance is temporary, and every friendship is tested against the harsh rules of survival. In power legacy, loyalty is a fragile currency, and betrayal often comes disguised as opportunity. Tariq is beginning to see the cracks in the relationships he once thought unbreakable, particularly with Tommy. Tommy's rigid sense of loyalty is both a strength and a weakness. He trusts the people close to him implicitly, but he has little patience for the clever manipulation of those who live by strategy and subterfuge. Tariq knows this, and the knowledge creates a dangerous tension. Every decision he makes now has the potential to tilt the balance between loyalty and betrayal, trust and deceit. The stage is being set, subtly but relentlessly, for a choice that could change everything. Power Legacy's world is evolving. New enemies, more cunning and ruthless than before, are emerging, forcing Tariq to question who he can rely on. He can no longer afford to make decisions purely based on morality or loyalty. Strategy must dominate. Every opportunity presents a potential threat, every alliance a potential trap. Tariq's survival instinct, sharpened by his father's lessons, tells him that inaction can be just as dangerous as a bad move. Tommy, for all his experience, and toughness, represents both a shield and a barrier. Tariq cannot ignore him, cannot cross him lightly, but he also cannot allow loyalty to blind him to the risks Tommy's presence brings. This is the paradox Tariq faces to secure his own future. He may have to undermine the very person who could be his most valuable ally. The tension escalates as Tariq carefully evaluates his options. He observes Tommy's routines, his reactions to threats, his alliances, and even his moments of vulnerability. Tariq has learned from Ghost that power is not given, it is seized, maintained, and defended with precision. And yet, Tariq is not purely ruthless. He feels the weight of conscience, the pull of family, the subtle whisper of morality. He knows that crossing Tommy could have repercussions far beyond their immediate world. And he understands that once trust is broken, it cannot be rebuilt. Every calculated step now is a delicate balancing act. Tariq is learning to measure not just the immediate benefits of betrayal, but also the long-term consequences, both practical and emotional. The subtle signs of conflict are already appearing. Tommy senses tension, notices the careful hesitations in Tariq's words, the guarded expressions, the deliberate omissions. While Tommy may not yet see betrayal in the making, he can feel the undercurrent of danger. Tariq's mind, however, is already racing ahead, imagining scenarios where survival demands difficult choices. He has seen friends turn on each other for less, and he knows the price of loyalty when it conflicts with ambition. Each interaction with Tommy becomes a test, a chess match where every word and action carries weight. Tariq is positioning himself carefully, probing for weaknesses, calculating reactions, and preparing for the moment when a decision will no longer be optional but inevitable. The setup for betrayal is complete in small, almost invisible ways. A glance here, a half-truth there, a carefully timed omission all are part of Tariq's strategic map. The story is moving toward a critical turning point, and Tariq is aware that the moment of choice is coming faster than anyone expects. In the world of power legacy, betrayal is rarely dramatic. It is calculated, precise, and often disguised as necessity. Tariq is walking the edge of that blade now, aware that one misstep could not only destroy his relationship with Tommy, but also unravel the fragile network of alliances he has built to survive. The tension is almost unbearable, the stakes impossibly high, and the consequences far-reaching. Power, survival, and legacy collide in a single point, Tariq's next move. And the question that looms over him and everyone around him: will he betray Tommy? Or will loyalty triumph over ambition in the end? If Tariq St. Patrick crosses the line and betrays Tommy, the consequences will ripple far beyond the immediate act. In the world of power legacy, betrayal is never isolated. It sets off a chain reaction that touches everyone connected to the players involved. Tommy is not a man who forgets or forgives easily. A single act of disloyalty from Tariq could turn an ally into the most dangerous enemy Tariq has ever faced. Unlike other adversaries, Tommy knows Tariq intimately enough to predict his moves, to anticipate his strategies, and to exploit the smallest hesitation. What Tariq may see as a calculated step toward power could become the trigger for chaos, violence, and the collapse of everything he has worked to protect. Betrayal in this world is more than strategy, it is personal. And Tommy's response will be swift and precise. Tariq's betrayal would also redefine his own identity. For years, he has struggled with the duality of his existence: the son who wants to honor Ghost's legacy, and the young man trying to carve out his own path in a dangerous world. A betrayal of Tommy would mark a pivotal moment, transforming him from a student of survival into a master manipulator of life and death. It would force Tariq to confront the person he is becoming, a version of himself that is ruthless, cunning, and willing to sacrifice loyalty for ambition. This act would be the ultimate test of whether Tariq can embrace the full scope of the legacy he inherited, or whether the weight of morality and conscience will continue to hold him back. In that choice lies the line between survival and destruction. The fallout would extend to every relationship Tariq has built, Allies, friends, and even family would have to reconsider their trust. Once betrayal occurs, no one can be sure where Tariq's loyalty truly lies. Each connection would become a test, a potential trap waiting to spring open. The criminal world is unforgiving, and people do not tolerate deception lightly. A single miscalculation could turn former friends into sworn enemies, and the alliances Tariq relies upon for protection and advancement could crumble under the pressure. Betrayal is not an isolated event in power legacy. It is a seismic shift that rewrites the rules, reshapes loyalties, and alters the balance of power permanently. Emotionally, the toll on Tariq would be immense. Betrayal is not a purely intellectual act. It carries weight, guilt, and consequences that cannot be undone. Even if Tariq succeeds in outmaneuvering Tommy temporarily, he would have to live with the knowledge of the choice he made. This is a world where decisions are rarely black and white, and every action carries a shadow of regret. Tariq would confront the tension between ambition and conscience, strategy and morality, power and humanity. Each step he takes after betrayal would require careful calculation, as one wrong move could undo everything he has built. In essence, the act of betrayal could propel Tariq into a position of power, but it could also isolate him, forcing him to navigate a world where trust no longer exists and danger lurks behind every alliance. Ultimately, the choice to betray Tommy is not just about power, it is about destiny. Tariq stands at a crossroads where one decision will define the rest of his life. Betrayal could elevate him to the top, placing him in a position to control his own fate and cement Ghost's legacy through cunning and force. Yet, it could just as easily destroy him, severing the bonds he needs to survive and painting a target on his back that no strategy can fully defend against. In power legacy, betrayal is never simple, and the consequences are never confined to one person. If Tariq chooses this path, it will echo across every corner of his world, rewriting alliances, testing loyalties, and forcing him to face the ultimate question: is the pursuit of power worth the cost of everything he holds dear? The stakes could not be higher, and the answer, once revealed, will change the landscape of power legacy forever.